What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. My name is Eric. Um, First ever video on YouTube, so hopefully this gets out there and we can start something big here. The point of this whole channel is to really cover the major sports that are out there: football, basketball, baseball, sometimes hockey. Um, Really, it's all about giving analysis, giving opinions, feedback. I want your guys' feedback when we have different topics every day. Um, I want to be able to converse with you guys on a daily basis to kind of see where you stand on certain topics. Um, Certain teams, players, whatever the bigger stories are for the day. The first topic I wanted to talk about today, though, was the NFL playoff picture. Obviously, 3 games left in the season. That gets very exciting with the playoff picture coming up. We have the NFC playoffs, which it's not as exciting with the teams that are in the hunt right now. You have the Vikings, who are in the sixth spot right now. They just lost to the Seahawks on Monday Night Football, so they're sitting at 6-1 in the sixth slot. And then behind them, there's not really a whole lot of good teams, I would say. You have the Panthers sitting at 6-7. There's a few kind of mediocre teams, I would say, that are kind of on that bubble. But nobody that really stands out and is able to be like, wow, yeah, if they get into the playoffs, they're going to be able to do some damage. I think the NFC is pretty self-explanatory. I think that the teams that are at the top of that conference are probably the teams that are going to be there at the end of the year in the NFC Championship game. You look at the New Orleans Saints at the top right now in first place. Obviously, stellar offense. Drew Brees, 40-plus years old, still getting it done with an MVP season. He probably will get MVP this year, in my opinion. Although Patrick Mahomes does have something to say about that. Now, the Saints won, obviously, and then you look at the teams below them with the Rams. The Rams, obviously, high-power scoring offense, right? You can't say enough about what Sean McVay has been able to do with Jared Goff in his second year, with Todd Gurley leading the league in not only rushing yards but rushing touchdowns as well. And just the core of guys that they have around him with, Cooper Kupp. Obviously, he's gone for the year right now, but he's an up-and-coming player. Just Aaron Donald on the defensive end. He's leading the league in sacks. They really have a lot of good pieces around him right now. And then you get below those couple of teams, and I think those are the two top 1-tier teams. You get into the Bears next at 3. The Bears are kind of hit and miss. They lost to the Giants a few weeks ago. At the same time, I look at that game and I think, okay, Chase Daniel was starting. Trubisky wasn't in there. But at the same time, there was a lot of things in that game that were kind of eye-opening and kind of, made you stop and think, are these really contenders? And then you see what they came out and did last week, and they, obviously they they put a spanking on the Rams, right? They held them to 6 points at home. They didn't score a touchdown, which is unbelievable with the type of offense that the Rams have. So I do think that they're for real. My question with them is, are they able to put up enough points? Because when you're talking about the NFC playoff picture, you have to be able to put up enough points with teams like the Saints and the Rams when you start advancing. And I don't know if they're going to be able to hang with those teams when it comes to that. Obviously, their defense is awesome. At the same time, I think it's more of an offensive league now. So that's kind of my question mark with them. When you look at the teams that are a little bit below them, one team that's really been surprising this year is the Packers. In my opinion, they're completely out of it right now. They're only a game, 2 games behind the Vikings right now, out of the division lead. Out of the last playoff spot. But it's been really a disappointing year. Aaron Rodgers, he's 33, 34 years old now. You only have so much time with what you're going to be able to do with him. And they just haven't put the pieces around him to be able to get it done, which is really disappointing when you stop and think about how good of a player he is and how much he's meant to that franchise. What's really exciting, in my opinion, is the AFC playoff picture. You look at the top of the conference, and you got the Chiefs obviously in first place. Patrick Mahomes, like I said, having an MVP type season. His rookie year, I mean, he's got 43 touchdowns right now with 3 games remaining. Um, he's definitely turned that franchise around. I mean, coming from Alex Smith and going to Patrick Mahomes, it's definitely been a change of pace for them. It's been a nice change of scenery to see them have somebody who can really throw the ball downfield, who adds another dimension with his legs, and is really able to kind of keep everybody in the offense involved. Um, Below them, what's exciting for me is that with how good the Chiefs have been this year, the Chargers are only a game behind them. They're 10-3. The Chiefs are 11-2. So they play this week. That's going to be the biggest game of the year for both of them, in my opinion. It's going to be for the division lead. So whoever wins that game is going to be on top of the AFC West, which is really exciting. I mean, when you're playing for a football game, it's exciting enough as it is. But when you add that whoever wins is going to be leading the division at that point, the stakes are at an all-time high for that game. But the Chargers have definitely, I think, proven themselves this year with establishing the running game with Melvin Gordon. I really do think that they are legit this year. I just don't know if they're quite better than the Chiefs. So they're actually in the 5th spot right now because they are 1 game behind the Chiefs. But you look at the Patriots. The Patriots they are what they are every year. They get into the playoffs, get that first round bye, and seem to always advance, right? But this year, I think it's a little bit different. I think that if they're able to get into the playoffs and get a first round bye, and they're able to keep the football games at home, I think they have a lot better shot to do some damage than they do if they go on the road. They are a completely different team than they are on the road and than when they're at home. That's obvious. You look at a team like the Steelers. Now, the Steelers are in a lot of jeopardy of not only not winning the division, but missing the playoffs altogether. 7-5-1 right now, still leading the division. A game up on Baltimore at 7-6. They've been in a downward spiral, man. They just lost to the Raiders, who, in my opinion, is the worst team in football. You just can't let that happen. You can't let that happen if you're going for a division title and you want to do some damage in the playoffs. So the Steelers are kind of on the fence with me. I think they'll still end up winning the division. I'm just not sure how far they'll advance this year. The Houston Texans leading the AFC South, obviously. Not by much. They are sitting at 9-4. Colts are 7-6. It all comes down to that game this year where the Colts went for the win instead of the tie. So let me have you think about this for a second. If the Colts would have won that game this year between them and Houston, which I believe was week 3, if I'm not mistaken, if the Colts would have won that game and not had the L in the loss column, they would be leading the division right now with the same record as Houston. They would be tied with the same record right now, and the Colts would be leading because they would have won both games. So the Colts would pretty much be controlling their own destiny with having to, win out to win the division title. But now you look at the Texans. I think they're still in a pretty good spot to win the division. They really need to kind of falter and take a step back for the Colts to win the division. The Colts need to win the final 3 games, and they need help from Baltimore and Houston to get in, which I think is, it can happen. At the same time, I don't know if, how possible it is.